Those who reach the peak of humanity, must they really be all alone? He asked himself this while running as their town was under attack. While everyone was running outside to escape, he alone ran towards the castle. All the neighboring sects had formed an alliance and had swarmed their city like ants. Seeing him run inside, the guard captain asks what he was doing and why he hadn't escaped yet. The old man asks why he wasn't being escorted by guards and asks him to follow the old man out as this place was too dangerous for him. He tells the guard that he was going to get the cult leader. He says that after she instructed everyone to evacuate and abandon the town, she hadn't moved at all. The guard says that they can't risk being seen there as the alliance had already broken through the defense lines. He tells the guard to quickly get to safety and that he himself would do the same with the cult leader. But deep down, he knew that it was too late to escape now. He lets out a sigh and proceeds to run to the main castle. He announces his presence from outside the building, addressing himself and Jin, the inner administrator. He gets no response from inside, so he repeats himself a bit louder this time. Not getting a response once again, he stands addressing her casually. Just then, she responds and tells him to come inside. He quickly closes his mouth, hoping that she didn't hear that while opening the door. He hopes that even if she did hear him, she would understand since he wasn't rude from the beginning. But even though he was trying his best to open the front door, it barely opened slightly. He thinks that at least the guy who was stationed to open the doors should have stayed back. By the time he finally managed to open the door, he was drenched in sweat and breathing heavily. The cult leader, herself presumptuously sweating, says that Jin's martial arts level was worse than a third-rate mercenary. Jin says that he was glad that the elders didn't see him struggle like that. She agrees and says that if the elders saw him speaking casually to her, then he would have been in big trouble. Jin slowly walks up the steps towards the cult leader and kneels in front of her, while greeting Yura, who was known by the title, the heartless demonic Empress, with respect. She asks why the weakest among all the inner administrators had come looking for her. Jin asks what the cult leader was still doing there and why she hadn't left with the others. She says that it was because of poison. She starts listing more than 10 different poisons which she was now affected by. Jin clenches his fist and asks if it was the lord of the demonic faction that did this to her. The lord of the demonic faction, Han. The Han whom the cult leader had chosen to be her future husband, the one who had opened the front gates for the Alliance army to come in. He was the leader of the traitors. She tells Jin that Han had told her that he went through a really tough time to approach her and win her grandfather's heart. She says that he poisoned her because he wanted her to understand the suffering he went through. Jin asks if that man was dumb, but stops himself from being rude in front of her again. The cult leader giggles and says that Jin was truly quite interesting. Jin says that it wasn't time to be saying stuff like that. Although she always looked serious, confident, and stern, in these final moments she was actually smiling. Jin asks if it was too late for her now. She tells him that the poison had already started taking over her core. She says that she could have dealt with a few types of poison, but the sheer density and speed of this poison was too much for her to handle. He asks if he could ask her a question, a hypothetical one. She tells him to go ahead. He asks her not to get mad about the question. She says that she was going to pull his tongue out if he kept dragging it out like this. Feeling the chills, he quickly asks what the cult leader would have done if she had a chance to reincarnate. She asks what he means by that. Jin asks if he hadn't talked to her about this already, about how he had saved his life in his past life. She asks how she could believe that he saved the world when he couldn't even open the front door by himself. Jin asks her to just think of it as true. She then asks if Jin was trying to plant hope in her. She says that if it was actually true, then he should have been busy doing his own things. Jin says that he was a kind that couldn't stand being betrayed and that this was also his way of repaying her for everything she had done for him. She couldn't recall doing anything for Jin at all. Jin says that there was no need to overthink it too much. He thinks that she probably thinks of their encounter as him simply being presented to her as one of the candidates for her political marriage. The cult leader thinks about Jin's question. Jin wonders what she would do herself. Even though she wouldn't remember what was happening in this moment, he had resolved his heart. If she asked for it, he was ready to tear apart the traitors in their cult, the dogs who had formed an alliance against them, and all the third-party groups that led to this incident. He was ready to even sacrifice his soul to slaughter them all. The cult leader crosses her legs and leans forward while asking if Jin would mind seducing her. Jin's eyes go wide, wondering if he was hearing things. He says that although he was confident enough to stop Han from becoming a part of the demonic faction, He wasn't sure he was confident enough to become her partner. He says that it might be close to impossible to do, as a romantic relationship was one where both parties were willing. But back when she was not yet the leader of the cult, she was more of a tyrant that no one could stop. Jin says that she had crushed and rejected every single suitor who had approached her, and the only reason Han managed to become her fiancé was because of her grandfather. The cult leader looks disappointed and says that he doesn't have to do it if he doesn't want to. He asks when he refused to do it. While walking up to her, he says that every romantic relationship starts with someone who was interested in someone who wasn't interested. While calling her Lady Yura, he says that doing this much for her was not hard for him at all. The cult leader starts blushing after hearing him address her as Lady, while saying that she was past 30 now to be called Lady. Jin asks if she could promise him something. He asks if she would forgive him even if he speaks harshly to her past self, and if she could tell him about any weaknesses she had. She says that if the conversation ever leaked out, she swears to come and kill him with everything. She then tells him a bunch of her secrets. Jin, while shaking, says that the cult leader was quite something back in the day. She quickly tells him to shut up while blushing. They spend a little more time talking to each other. Before the cult leader tells Jin that it seemed like it was the end of their conversation, just then the door bursts open, and the cult leader tells him that the intruders made it to them. She asks if he wanted her to give him a painless death, but Jin says that he passes. He says that he wants to see everything until the very end. The Alliance leader says that he can't believe that he lived long enough to see the fall of the demon cult. Jin asks if the Alliance even knew who they were backing. The old man says that he does very well. He points at Han and says that he was the one who was given the title Divine Dragon, someone who endured the disgrace for the sake of the country. Jin laughs, wondering if Han betrayed the demonic cult just for that title he got among the enemies. Han points at the cult leader and says that it's time for her to pay for her sins. The cult leader says that those were some sharp words from some who used to whimper like a puppy in front of her. He says that it was all an act for the sake of the country. She asks if that's really the case, or if it was for the society of those who defy the heavens. The Alliance members look around asking who the heaven defiers were, or what it was. Jin looks at the cult leader concerned, and Han starts panicking, telling them not to be deceived by the words of the witch. He says that she was trying to drive a wedge between the Alliance on her final moments. The others agree and say that they couldn't care less about what she was saying from the beginning. They say that since her life was already hanging by a thread, they would easily win if they all attacked with full force. The cult leader says that even if she was poisoned, ants like them were still easy for her to handle. The old man from the Alliance says that she sure did talk big. She says that they will see about that while unleashing her powers. The Alliance members ask how she still had so much power left. The old Alliance leader tells them all to attack at once, and they all flood inside, running straight towards the cult leader. Later, when Jin regains his consciousness, the cult leader asks if Jin was still alive. Jin quickly gets up, asking how long he was out for. The cult leader, with swords in her stomach, says that she was thankful that she could say goodbye to Jin before she met her demise. She says that the enemies had retreated once she activated the self-destruction array. Jin sees how hurt the cult leader is. When she looks back and asks why he was crying, Jin says that it was because he was sad. The cult leader reaches out her hand to lift Jin's chin up and asks if he is going to seduce her for sure. Jin says that he will. The cult leader says that it was good to know while smiling at him before falling unconscious. The building starts falling apart on top of them, and it was his final moments in this life. In his first life, he was a hero who saved Earth as its guardian. Thanks to that, he was given a gift by the gods that granted him 2 more lives. Originally, he planned to live a life of wild fun, but now things were different. He wanted to dedicate everything to her in this final life of his. As soon as he opens his eyes, he is splashed on the face with water. His servant Chill says that he had come to wake the young master up. He asks why he gave him a bath instead of just shaking him up instead. A man from the other side of the table says that he was the one who ordered Chill to pour water on Jin. Jin starts shivering after hearing that voice. He knew exactly where he was now. He was in front of his father, the patriarch of the family. His father says that just before Jin's coming-of-age ceremony, he had snuck into the upper floor and was drinking alcohol. Jin remembers that he was beaten up like a dog and dragged back home by his father. His father asks how the eldest son of their clan got knocked out by 1 liquor bottle, that too at a party with heirs from other families, no less. He calls Jin pathetic. Jin runs towards his father and kneels down, saying that he can't believe his son was this weak. His father says that if he was going to be this weak, he might as well at least be a little smart. He asks if Jin knows why he came himself to drag Jin back home. Last time, he had failed to answer and got beaten up again. Jin says that it must be because of his engagement meeting with the next cult leader. The engagement meeting with the 17-year-old Yura was the next in line to become the cult leader. The meeting was for the elite heirs from the great clans, basically a contest to determine Yura's future spouse. But in his last life, no one was chosen, and at the demonic factions tournament later, the traitor Han had won. Jin thinks that he can't allow that to happen again. His father says that the only reason a talentless and unmotivated man like Jin was allowed to live so long was for this moment. His father asks if Jin could win the young lady's heart and rise above the other heirs. Jin says that the other heirs from the great clans could never win the young lady over. His father smiles and says that it was a good attitude to have, and that Jin should polish his self-defense martial arts at least if he didn't want to disgrace the family name. Jin thinks that he wasn't expecting to run into his father immediately after waking up, but still, the reincarnation point was the best he could ask for 20 years in the past. He remembers Yura saying something about a society of people who defy the heavens, who Han was working for, and thinks that he has to wipe them from the root. Chill asks what the young master planned to do now. Jin asks what Chill means, and Chill asks if Jin didn't boldly declare that he would become young Lady Yura's future spouse. Jin thinks back and asks when he said something like that. He says that he never actually said that he would become Yura's husband himself. He says that he only said the others would all be rejected by Yura. Chill asks if that wasn't basically the same thing. Jin says that it was completely different. Jin thinks that at this period, Yura couldn't be won over by anyone no matter what. She was obsessed with perfecting her martial arts at this point in her life. He thinks that she shouldn't spare a glance to anyone weaker than her. Just then, someone approaches them and says that it was unexpected to see Jin still be there. Jin recognizes the boy. It was Ma Chulsu, the second son of the Blood Dragon clan. Chulsu asks if Jin saw a ghost or something, seeing him not answering. Jin asks where young he was and asks why Chulsu came alone. Chulsu says that he doesn't have a sister with that name and suddenly challenges Jin to a duel. This duel didn't happen in his last life. He thinks that it was maybe because his father didn't beat him up and drag him back this time. There were 6 main clans under the demonic cult. Among them, Jin's clan and the Blood Dragon clan had the worst relationship. Jin says that personal conflicts between the clans were forbidden. Chulsu says that there was an exception. Jin figures that it must be the matter with Yura. He asks if it was regarding the meeting. Chulsu says that Jin was right and that if Jin lost the duel, he had to give up on participating in the engagement meeting. Jin asks why he should accept such nonsense. He asks if Chulsu's brother was that weak that he needed his elder brother to pick fights in the shadows. Jin tells Chulsu not to push his luck too far unless he didn't want it to turn into a full-scale conflict between their clans. Chulsu rushes at Jin while telling Jin not to underestimate him. Chill immediately grabs his sword. But Jin asks him not to interfere as it was the perfect opportunity for him to test his skills. Chill asks what Jin was thinking, even though he didn't know any martial arts. Jin had his skills forwarded to him from his previous life, and even though he was no match to Chulsu's father, against someone like Chulsu, he could just overwhelm him. Jin catches Chulsu's sword with his fingers. Chill asks how Jin did that, and Jin kicks Chulsu somewhere he would remember for a very long time. Chill thinks that the Blood Dragon clan might have trouble continuing their lineage in the future. Jin tells them to take Chulsu away. Jin tells Chulsu's guards to make sure they stop him when Chulsu wakes back up, as he was surely going to freak out and come after Jin again if they didn't want word to get out that Chulsu had lost. Jin says that he made sure to hold back by a lot. Jin makes his way back to his clan. He gets welcomed by a bunch of trainees, and an old man asks if Jin enjoyed his little trip with his friends. Jin says that it was hard to say. Jin knows that the administrator in front of him knew exactly what happened. He says that Administrator Byok was pretty good at acting. The administrator says that he was merely just concerned for Jin's well-being. Jin tells him to forget about it and asks that administrator to give him access to a training room. The administrator asks if Jin was going to train martial arts. Everyone who heard it gasps in unison. Jin also asks the administrator to get him some scrolls from the clan archive. In his last life, His master had said that if he mastered these books, he would become invincible. Jin asks if these books weren't even the full version. His master says that it wasn't his fault that the main family house was set on fire. He says that the martial arts in those books had no chance to shine because they fell into their clan's hands where everyone was all about brute strength. The fire at the main estate was still 4 years in the future, so the scrolls were still untouched in this life. His family focused on palm strikes and kicks, which Jin wasn't a fan of. However, he had exceptional talent, outstanding perception, and solid internal energy foundation. Although he might not meet his master in this life, he promises to become a grandmaster as his master dreamed of him. But at his current level, he was afraid that he couldn't keep the promise he made with Yura to seduce her, as he was sure she would reject him after seeing how weak he was. He thinks that he was going to isolate and devote himself to martial arts for 5 years before the tournament. And once he had the strength, he promised to annihilate those people from the heaven-defying society so that when she becomes the cult leader once again, her reign wouldn't be threatened. But he remembers how happy she looked when he promised to seduce her and thinks it over. 2 weeks pass quickly after that day. It was the day of the meeting, and Chill asks if Jin wasn't late for the meeting. Jin says that it was all right as he was last in line anyway, and he was confident that everyone else would be rejected anyway. Chill says that even still, Jin shouldn't be treating an official event of the demonic cult this lightly. Jin says that it was fine. Last time he failed in the engagement, and even his father had locked him up for a year. Just then, he sees a man flying through the air smashing into the wall. Jin says that this was a pretty aggressive greeting. By the clothes he was wearing, Jin thinks that this must be Ma Jinyun of the Blood Dragon clan, Chul Su's younger brother. Yura says that Jinyun seems to be somewhat useful. She asks if Jinyun could still carry on, and Jinyun quickly gets back up and goes back saying that he can. Jin turns around to look at Yura, who was staring straight at him. Jin says that it was unfortunate that he wasn't late. Chill asks why Jin deliberately wanted to be late so badly. Jin tells him to forget about it and goes inside the training hall. In his last life, Jinyun was knocked out cold from a single strike and had disappeared after leaving his family. But now something feels off. Jinyun attacks Yura, and Yura says that Jinyun was better than she expected. She deflects his attack, hits his arm disarming him, and kicks him back, knocking him to the floor once again. While on the ground, he points at Jin and says that he was never going to lose to Jin. He then thanks Yura for sparring with him, and Yura says that she hopes he grows stronger the next time they meet. Jin wonders if Jinyun wasn't supposed to get rejected outright. Yura asks Jinyun to get his wounds treated at the medicine hall. Jinyun thanks her for her kindness before leaving while growling at Jin. Yura walks up to Jin and says that she was waiting for him, sending chills down his spine. He wonders why she would wait for him. She says that the kid from the Blood Dragon clan was pretty decent, and if Jin had beat Jinyun's elder brother, then Jin should be stronger than Jinyun according to her. Jin wonders if this was why Jinyun looked mad at him since earlier. Yura tells Jin that if he failed to meet her expectations, then she would be very disappointed. Jin thinks that this was what he disliked about the demon cult. They tried to solve everything with brute strength. Yura was going for Jin's head from the very beginning of their fight, even though it was supposed to be a non-lethal duel. He asks who starts a friendly duel with a killing move, even though he was going easy on Jinyun just a minute ago. While barely dodging her strikes, Jin accidentally calls her a psychotic lady out loud. Yura suddenly stops moving after hearing that. She asks him to repeat himself. Jin says that he didn't mean it like that. Yura says that she will go even harder like a psychopath if that was what Jin wanted. Jin decides that he was going to make a few counters and then wrap the fight up as there was no reason for him to continue. But Yura realizes that's what he was doing, which makes her even angrier. She asks if he had been hiding his strength from her. Jin wonders how she found out and asks if she was using sword aura. She only deflected the other contestants, but against him, she was using sword aura. Jin tries to block her swing, but he gets knocked back anyway, and he starts coughing after taking the brunt of the force. Yura asks if Jin was trying to fake a loss while still hiding his strength. She asks how he dared to hide his strength in front of her and asks him to stop. Jin says that he was never insincere in the fight. Yura asks if he was feigning again while pointing her sword at him. But he was saying the truth. He had never been insincere, not once. It was just that his sincerity didn't lie in winning this duel. She asks if deceiving her was truly his intent and tells him that she was going to kill him here and now as he wishes. Chill asks Jin to be careful as if he failed to block Yura's attack, he would actually die. Yura dashes forward with 6 phantom swords. He tries his best to block as many as possible, but it wasn't working. Yura comes at him after the phantom blades and tries to overpower Jin, but Jin blocks it and jumps back. While his whole body was still vibrating, he says that he managed to block it. Yura asks what exactly was it that Jin blocked. Jin is surprised to see Yura starting to use enhanced aura. Even though she was just a year older than him, she was already way stronger than he could have expected. She goes straight for his neck, and there was nothing he could do about it. He just closes his eyes, accepting his death when he hears an old voice laughing in front of him. He opens his eyes, wondering how he was still alive. The old man who had stopped Yura's attack with one arm says that Yura seems to have really lost her temper and asks if she was planning to destroy their whole training hall with one strike. As soon as Jin realizes who was standing in front of him, he falls to his knees and greets the old man, the true supreme of the demonic cult, Yura's grandfather. He tells Yura that she almost started a civil war within the demonic cult today. In the demonic cult's 1,000-year history, Yura's grandfather was the 3rd person to receive the title of Supreme and also the 28th and current leader of the demonic cult faction. He tells Yura that if there was a civil war, when the cult forces were distracted, the orthodox alliances would pounce in an instant. Although Jin thought that this was a little exaggerated, the old man may have been right. Although he thought that there was no way his father, the Asura king, would start a civil war just because a child he had already given up on died, the old man asks Yura to apologize to Jin, making her clench her fist and bite her lips. Although she apologizes to Jin, it didn't feel like she meant it. He didn't think he would see a day where he would see the heartless demonic Empress apologizing. In the demonic faction, it was the survival of the fittest. The old man then says that the Asura king had raised a proper heir, looking at Jin. Jin says that his qualifications were deemed insufficient by his father, and that his younger brother was chosen as his clan's heir instead. The old man asks what Jin means by insufficient qualification. The old man was sure that Jin had used sword aura to block Yura's attack. The old man starts laughing and says that he understands what Jin is saying and looks satisfied that Jin wasn't the clan heir. Jin says that the old man was right and that he only came to fulfill his duty as a man of his clan. The old man tells Jin to see his duty until the end in that case. Jin asks what the old man was saying. The old man says that they were going to schedule his clan when the next meeting was scheduled. He says that he hopes to see Jin getting along with his granddaughter well while leaving. He turns around and asks why Jin wasn't answering him. Jin says that he understands while thinking that he was done for. The old man says that he should share a drink with Jin's father as it had been a while, walking away. After he leaves, Yura says that she wasn't going to apologize personally to Jin as she was the one who was tricked by Jin. She says that she was aware that Jin hates her and that this was why Jin had put up this act in front of her. But since it was the cult leader's command, even though she wasn't happy about it, she still apologized. Jin tells her to wait and tells her that he doesn't hate her at all, and on the contrary, he mumbles that he likes her instead. He says that of course it was admiration. He says that his actions today had nothing to do with her. Yura tells him that during these meetings, they were equals and asks him not to talk to her this formally. Jin asks how he was supposed to address her then. Yura seems to have not thought that far ahead. Jin says that he was going to call her Lady Yura instead. While leaving the training hall, Chill says that Jin was incredible and that the patriarch would definitely be thrilled about this news. Jin returns to his family estate, disappointed that his 5-year isolated training plan was now completely ruined. His brother greets him at the door, and Jin asks what brought his little brother to greet him personally. His brother says that he heard Jin was training in the training chambers before he went to the engagement meeting. He asks if Jin was now aiming for the position of the heir. Jin says that his younger brother Yowoon should know how the law of the family works. Yowoon says that his relationship with Yura could be dealt with anytime. Jin wasn't expecting this muscle brain to be this sharp. Yowoon says that he doesn't acknowledge Jin as his brother. He says that Jin doesn't belong in their clan. Chill tries to calm Yowoon down and says that Jin had shown a great performance in the engagement meeting. Yowoon glares at Chill and asks how a former assassin dares to intrude in their conversation. He says that it was a discussion between the direct descendants of their clan. Jin takes a deep breath while thinking how annoying this was getting. He says that it looks like he has to fix his brother's rotten attitude. His brother laughs while asking if Jin was being serious. Jin says that he had never gotten a chance to teach his little brother some manners before. During their fight, Yo-woon asks why Jin kept running away like a rat. Jin asks if Yo-woon not being able to land even one shot on Jin was a bigger problem. Yo-woon says that he was going to leave Jin crippled. Jin asks how Yo-woon could say something like that to his own brother. Jin says that he challenged Yo-woon for a duel for 3 reasons. First was to remind his brother that there was someone who is always stronger than him. Second was because Yo-woon dared to insult his honor. All those watching wonder what was happening, wondering if Jin wasn't just a slacker. After beating him thoroughly, Yo-woon says that he will take Jin's advice seriously, but asks Jin not to expect the same results the next time they fought. Jin stops him and asks if Yo-woon didn't want to hear his final reason. Yo-woon asks what it was. Jin says that it was because Yo-woon doesn't show proper respect to his elder brother. Yo-woon starts crying and apologizing. Jin says that respect isn't shown by words while beating Yo-woon up again. Later that night, Jin's father says that Jin pulled quite the stunt today. He says that the supreme cult leader was praising Jin throughout their meeting. He says that even he got praised for his competence for producing a talent like Jin for his granddaughter. His father then asks if Jin had a desire to become the heir of the Asura clan. Jin requests his father to keep the position for Yo-woon. He says that unlike Jin, Yo-woon had consistently proven his value to their clan. Jin says that he intended to serve the young lady Yura to raise their clan's prestige. Jin's father says that he didn't think Jin would care about their clan's honor this much. Jin says that while the other clans wasted their potential in their heirs' power struggles, he and Yo-woon could build a solid foundation inside and out of the clan. He says that their clan could surely be called the greatest among the 6 great clans in the near future. His father says it was a good idea and asks if Jin could pull it off. Jin says that he was going to make it happen. His father says that it was a good attitude to have and that Jin had grown quite impressive lately. He asks if he could do anything to support Jin as his father. After the conversation with his father, he thinks that since the isolated training he wanted to do was now off the table, he should just start digging into the identity of the organizations that were working in the shadows in his last life. Since the reign of the supreme demonic cult leader was overwhelmingly solid, these shadow organizations wouldn't make any major moves until Lady Yura becomes the cult leader. Since there were many talented heirs among the branch clans of the demonic cult, there wouldn't be much support for Yura even within the clan. He thinks that the information about these shadow organizations might turn into a trump card that could change the tides of the battle in the future. Annoyed after being followed for this by Yo-woon, he asks what Yo-woon wanted from him. Yo-woon says that he was just curious about what Jin had been up to recently to become this strong. Jin tells him to go train his body instead of following him. Yo-woon says that he had already finished his training and asks where they were going. Jin says that he was going to the black market. Yo-woon asks if that wasn't a place where people buy and sell illegal goods, a place where the heretics who have broken the cult's law gather. Jin tells Yo-woon to remember one thing, that if the demonic cult truly decided something as illegal within their territory, then it wouldn't exist at all. It's just that there was no benefit in letting the regular people of the territory know about certain things, which is why they are titled as illegal to hide them in plain sight. In short, the black market was under the influence of one of the 6 great clans. Jin walks up to a gate of a massive building, named as the Hidden Gold Pavilion. As soon as he opens the door, there were people waiting inside, as if they knew that he was already coming. Jin says that this was the place that truly controlled the black market. A man welcomes Jin and his brother and asks what brought them to their humble establishment. Jin tells the man to bring him to the person in charge. The man says that he was the one in charge and that his name was Gunjong. Jin tells the man to stop flattering himself and tells him to bring someone from the Sa clan. Gunjong asks how Jin knows that. Jin asks what the man was talking about. He asks if Gunjong was talking about how he knew that this place was actually the intelligence division of the Sa clan. The man asks Jin again how he knew so much while exerting killing intent. Jin says that Gunjong was quite bold. Before slapping him, Jin says that even though he doesn't know how to respect elders, he was confident in knowing how to hit them. He asks how a mere proxy of the Sa clan dared to emit killing intent towards him while gripping a hidden weapon at that. A lady tells them to stop, and Jin greets her while calling her Lady Sa. The fact that this building was a part of the Sa clan was not known even among many members of the Sa clan. Sa Baiyon, the direct in-line descendant of the Sa clan, wonders how Jin of all people knew about them. Bayon also works as Lady Yura's maid as her side job. She was the one who lent Jin a sword during the engagement meeting. She asks what brought Jin there, and Jin tells her that something strange had been spreading around the Red Lantern district and the back alleys lately. He says that it was something called the Black Spotted Blood. Bayon asks how Jin knows about that. Jin says that he heard about it while he was in a brothel. Bayon asks if that was all he had to say. Black Spotted Blood was an illness that was going to start spreading like wildfire within their cult. Jin says that it must be part of someone's scheme. Bayon agrees that it must definitely be something that came from outside the cult. She says that they haven't been able to trace its origin, even with the full support of the main family, and that they suspect it to be the work of a subordinate branch of one of the 6 great clans. Jin says that he expected that from the Sa clan's so-called intelligence network while telling his brother that they were leaving. Bayon asks Jin to wait for a second. Jin asks what it was now, while looking as if he was expecting her to stop him. Under the condition that the issue would resolve perfectly, Bayon agreed to hand over all the gathered intel to Jin. She also says that she will assign someone from the Sa clan to Jin to oversee the matter. Jin thanks her and takes full responsibility for the case. After Jin and his brother leave, Bayon turns around and says that they were gone while addressing Lady Yura, who was hiding on the 2nd floor of the building. On the day of the meeting, while walking back with her grandfather says that Jin seems to have not realized at what point he started giving his absolute best during the sparring. Yura asks if Jin was actually being serious while fighting her. Her grandfather says that it might sound strange, but Jin's eyes weren't focused on the match or victory, but at Yura herself. She says that hearing her grandfather say that only made her angrier. In the Enro Valley at the southernmost border of the demonic cult territory, where even most of the major clans avoid entering, a valley with the title of the Lawless Zone, Jin says that if you want to catch a tiger, then you must enter the tiger's den. The Sa clan's assigned agent says that if they go into the tiger's den, it might just end up with them being eaten, and that she didn't want to go any further in. Jin says that he was going to relay the agent's word to Lady Bayon and get her in trouble. The agent apologizes and starts following Jin. She asks if Jin was certain that they could obtain intel in this place while looking doubtful. Jin tells her to just watch him and find out, as sometimes it was easier to find information in places like these. But even before they had entered the valley, Jin had been feeling eyes on him. He thinks that he might have to deal with these stalkers if they followed him even after he went inside the valley. Inside the valley, the agent says that there were a lot of different types of plants around this place and asks if someone was cultivating them. Jin says that it does seem like that. The agent says that there was a certain charm to this place. Even though all the people around here are people who were exiled by the demonic cult, she thinks that growing these plants probably gave them some peace of mind. Jin tells her that the plant was marijuana. The agent quickly pulls her hand back, and Jin tells her to stay sharp as there was someone coming from in front of them. Few men ask what kids were doing in a place like this and that it couldn't be a coincidence. They tell Jin and the agent to get lost if they didn't want to get hurt. Jin says that it wasn't happening and that he came here to meet the top dog in that place. The thug says that he was gonna let them go since they looked like they were from nobility from the cult, and tells his men to break an arm or a leg while telling them to attack. The agent takes a few steps back and says that she was a non-combatant. Jin says that he wasn't expecting her to do anything from the beginning. While the people come rushing at him, Jin says that if he really dies in this place, it would be the thugs who would be in trouble. Jin and the agent get escorted inside, and an old man asks what the special occasion was. He says that he wasn't expecting any guests. The thug apologizes to the elder. The elder says that it was an honor for him to meet a noble from one of the 6 great clans. Jin tells the elder to guess from which clan he was from exactly and offers a generous reward if he was correct. The elder had just guessed that Jin would be a noble because of the expensive clothes Jin was wearing. The elder asks if Jin wasn't from the Hidden Shadow clan. Jin asks what makes the elder think that. The elder says that when he traces back their supplier, it was the H-Wang clan, and the Hidden Shadow clan had never had a good relationship with the H-Wang clan for generations. Jin thinks that it was nice of this dumb elder to rat out his suppliers. Jin then reveals that he was from the Asura clan. The elder asks how he could be the first young master of the Asura clan with that physique. The agent whispers and asks if it was okay for Jin to reveal his identity like this, and what he was going to do if these guys were suppliers of the black clotted blood. Jin tells her that they can squash them later if that was the case. The elder again asks why Jin had come to a place like this. Jin immediately says that it was the black clotted blood. Hearing that name startles the elder. Jin says that he had information that this place was the source of that drug and says that he wanted to hear more about it. Jin throws a pouch of gold and says that it should be enough to lighten up the elder's tongue a little. The elder catches the pouch and opens it, and seeing the gold certainly lights up sparks in his eyes. He tells them that the black clotted blood was an item that was supplied from outside, and although it passes through this valley, he says that it never touches their hands. He says that all they do is make drugs and supply them to the Hwang clan, and that they don't distribute it to an entertainment district or alas. Jin asks who it was that distributed them then. The elder says that it was the lower sects that were doing it. Just then, a thug runs up from behind saying that there was a problem. The thug says that there were intruders. Jin and the agent ask if he was talking about them. Back outside the valley, Lady Yura had finished dealing with all the thugs who were hiding around. On a different part of the valley, a thug runs up at a man who was sleeping while calling him team leader and informing him that Lady Yura had arrived. The team leader, who was also a spy from the Orthodox Alliance, asks if the thug had been drinking this early in the morning. The thug says that he wasn't lying, and that Lady Yura had already cut down several dozen of them who stood in her way, and also the people from the venomous sects. The team leader says that even if it wasn't Lady Yura, she should be some major figure from the 6 clans. He asks who else could it be. The thugs say that it could be Sayo from the So clan, Bai Yon from the Sa clan, or the twins from the Pa clan. He thinks that it surely can't be someone who they were targeting right now. The team leader tells the thug to gather the others. The thug says that he was going to go get all his friends. But the team leader calls him dumb and tells him to call the assassins that were dispatched from above. The person who Jin felt stalking was none other than Yura. Her guard tells her that they might get caught if they got any closer. Her guard says that there was a huge cannabis cultivating area ahead. Lady Yura asks why their cult leaves such a place untouched. Her guard tells her that it was because the material from here was necessary for the Hwang clan's formations. She says that by leaving the defenses in this place lax, they intended to lure intruders and easily deal with them from all angles. Yura asks if Jin came to this place knowing all that beforehand. She says that they were continuing their pursuit. She wanted to know what Jin was thinking, while remembering when he told her that he likes her, even though he was just mumbling. Yura tells her guards that her grandfather had told her that since she inherently had many enemies, distinguishing friends from foes was very important. The guard is impressed that Lady Yura was already concerned about her leadership, but Yura then asks if it doesn't sound fun. She says from all the novels she had read, places like this always have some kind of hidden master swordsman guarding it. She says that she really wants to fight them. The guards try to stop her, thinking that there were plenty of those people even in their clan, but after beating them all, she says that it was quite strange. Not only was there no hidden swordmaster, but Jin was able to enter without any resistance while she was kept being blocked by someone. Jin says that they should leave this place for now. Just then, the team leader of the thugs arrives, while saying that he wasn't expecting his underlings to actually be saying the truth. The team leader says that they were going to take Lady Yura as their prisoner now. Yura asks who the bum was to talk about taking her as a prisoner. The team leader asks what need she had to know who he was, and that all she needed to do was to quietly come along with them. The elder and his minions excuse themselves and scurry away. Yura says that this guy looks like a beggar from the beggar's clan. Jin says that they should spare the beggar, as he seems to have a lot of information that he wanted to extract. Yura tells her guards and Bai Yon to assist her. The agent following Jin turns out to be Bai Yon. She calls her shadow unit to come out and guard Jin. The beggar says that their strategy was cute and tells Yura that none of her guards were remotely as skilled as her and that on their side, they had many exceptional masters. Yura says that the beggar seems to know a lot about them. The beggar says that she was right, especially when it comes to Yura's family. Yura uses her sword aura while calling her enemies insects. The assassins all panic for a second, but the beggar tells them to attack. Yura tells them that not a single one of them were going to leave this place alive. Yura starts cutting apart all the so-called master assassins while not even breaking a sweat. She says that they were really just insects. An assassin, while hiding behind some rubble, says that he can't let it end like this while grabbing a weapon. He looks at Jin and says that he was going to kill Jin at the very least. While running at Jin, Jin smiles while thinking if the assassin has gone crazy, charging at him while he had so many guards around him. But to his surprise, the guards just jump away from him. Even though the assassin was well past his prime, he was still a high-level fighter, and it was too late for Jin to dodge now. He barely manages to grab his sword when the assassin's axe comes at him. He manages to block it, but the force knocks him on his back. He wonders why he was on the ground when he was supposed to look cool. Yura's guards ask how Jin managed to block that strike. The assassin asks why Jin wasn't dead. Jin calls the assassin a crazy psycho and tells him not to say crap like that to others. The assassin says that Jin's skull should have been split open from his strike. Yura cuts the assassin's head off from behind and says that Jin's level was more than enough to endure the strike as she expected. Jin wonders if she was testing him on purpose. He asks if Yura had fun making him suffer, and Yura says that she was satisfied. The team leader gets caught and tells them to just kill him. Jin asks why he would kill someone who he could give valuable testimony about the black clotted blood. The team leader tries to feign ignorance, saying that he knows nothing about black spotted blood. Jin says that even though he slacked off on martial arts, there were things he was very motivated to learn, especially the art of torture. He tells the team leader to remain as long as he can, as this was his first time he actually got to use his torture skill, and he wanted to enjoy it a little. While he was doing that, Yura apologizes for unnecessarily getting Bayon involved in all this. Bayon says that it was fine, although it might have had a bad impression on Jin's eyes about Bayon. Bayon asks what Yura plans to do if Jin managed to pass all of the Supreme Cult Leader's tests. Yura turns around to look at Jin and says that she might just try chasing one of the dreams she had given up on. She says that she now knows that Jin wasn't doing all this just because of a courtesan from the brothel like he mentioned. After finishing his torture, he tells the team leader, who was really from the beggar's gang, that his superior had apparently partnered with someone from Yura's clan. But this guy didn't know who specifically the insider was. Yura asks how someone from her clan could be connected to drug use. Jin tells her that the assassins that the beggar had with him were all sent from the Hidden Trace Manor in the Guryu Fortress. Bayon tells them that the Hidden Trace Manor was a faction that was founded 50 years ago by a retired Ghost Slayer member. Ghost Slayers was the same unit Chill used to be a part of. Bayon tells them that the unit was the Supreme Cult Leader's elite assassination unit, now disbanded. Jin says that it was best if Yura headed back now. He says that ever since the ambush, it was far beyond what they could handle on their own, and given how these criminals worked in cells, the Hidden Trace Manor probably wasn't even their main base. Jin points at what used to be the beggar team leader and says that once the higher-ups lose contact, they would just erase all traces of connection and vanish. Bayon asks what Jin was going to do now. Jin tells her that he was going to start from the bottom and target the distributors of the drugs. Yura says that there was a better way. She asks if the main issue was that the law enforcement didn't have time to assemble a full force for an assault. Jin says that she was right. Yura says that she could go herself. She says that if the next in line to be the cult leader made an official visit, then no one would be able to pull anything shady openly. Jin refuses, saying that he can't risk Yura's life over something like this. Yura asks if Jin thinks that this matter was nothing to be concerned over. Jin tells her that compared to the weight of Yura's life, this case was nothing. While looking sad, Yura says that Jin's plans went off track because of her and that she wanted to make it up to him. Jin thinks that this was exactly why he fell for Yura. At the outer edge of the main territory, Yura busts through the gate of the Hidden Trace Manor. The third master thinks that he was just about to pull out of the mess that happened in the Hidden Valley. He had never expected the person they tried to kidnap to waltz in herself. The old man welcomes Yura and asks what they owed the honor of her visit to. Yura asks if the old man's grandfather wasn't a part of her grandfather's Ghost Slayer unit. She says that she realized that she had been neglecting those who had once served her clan and thought that it was time to correct that. Yura says that they all seemed to look quite busy, almost as if they were packing up to leave in a hurry. She asks if they weren't even going to offer their guest a cup of tea. The old man says that he was going to guide her inside. The assassins who were hiding ask what they were supposed to do. The master assassin says that since they have got another chance, they should capture her alive this time. Yura says that the place looks like it had seen quite a few visitors going through there. As soon as they enter the building, the old man calls her Lady Yura. Yura tells him to use proper honorifics while addressing her. The old man laughs and asks why they should pretend when they both know what was happening. A bunch of assassins jump out, and the old man says that if Yura surrendered quietly, they wouldn't have to be rough with her. The old man says that he sees through her clearly. He says that just because she dealt with one of their units, she suddenly thinks she was unstoppable. He asks her not to think that this was all they got. The wall behind starts making mechanical noises and turns into a mechanical formation trap. Old man asks if they really thought that he would bring them there without having a plan. For a formation of this scale, It would have taken an enormous amount of money and manpower, neither of which a retired assassin could provide by himself. Yura unsheathes her sword, saying that the old man seems to have a lot more information that she wanted than she thought he had. She asks if the old man was working for a branch family of their clan, or if he had betrayed the family and allied with the enemies of the clan outside. The old man orders the assassins to kill all of Yura's guards. Yura jumps forward to stop the assassins using her phantom blade technique, and after a while, with her sword still wet with blood, she says that she still has a long way to go. She says that she couldn't accept that she let the blood of her enemies hit her clothes. She asks if it was because of guys like these that she had to suffer so much, and asks how she was supposed to make it worth her time. The old man wonders if Yura was threatening to interrogate him. Just then, Yura hears a pained scream from behind along with a warning for her to watch out. She quickly turns around as a masked man attacks her. She tries to block the hit, but it was evident to her that this guy was way stronger than her. The old man, who was shivering just now, suddenly gets his confidence back. The man passes by Yura towards the old man. The old man tells the masked man that the girl was the main heir of the demon cult, and asks the masked man to not miss the chance and kill her while she was still trapped in their formation. But the old man gets killed by the masked man, who says that it was only right to dispose of a dog that had failed its hunt. Yura asks what the masked man's affiliation was, and offers to use her personal wealth to inform the whole territory about the masked man's martial prowess. The masked man says that it wasn't a bad offer to be scouted by a bigger clan. Yura's guards tell her to be careful around the masked man. Yura tells them that she knows that the masked man was dangerous, and that she was tempted to see how strong she was compared to someone who is really a master swordsman. The masked man says that the information about Yura liking to put her life on the line just to test herself would get him a lot of money. Yura says that she was confident that she wouldn't die. The man tells her that it was more like arrogance while calling her a novice. They clash swords, and the man says that it was surprising to see her block it. Yura jumps back and says that she doesn't fall short against the master swordsman, at least in terms of her power, even with their level difference. The masked man says that she seems to be right about that, but while attacking her again, he says that regardless of how talented she was, the gap of experience between them was something she couldn't narrow down. He manages to land a hit on Yura, sending her back crashing into a wall. While walking up to her, he says that his orders were to capture her alive, but he says that leaving her alive today would surely come back to bite him in the ass later after seeing her talent. Yura wonders who ordered the masked man to kill her. The masked man says that in a few more years, the only way for him to beat her might be to feed her deadly poison. Yura says that the masked man's eyes at least seem to be working fine. The masked man says that this was exactly why she had to die then and there. Yura tells the masked man that she already knew that there was going to be a trap set up in this place, and even the possibility of a swordmaster who was stronger than her being here. The masked man asks why she would be stupid enough to come there if she truly knew about him. She says that the only thing she was wrong about was the difference in opinions about someone. She asks if that wasn't right while calling for Jin, and Jin walks in while saying that he told her so. Jin says that he was certain that the enemies would be more wary of her talent than her current value of being the next in line to become the cult leader. He asks if she figured out anything about her opponent while fighting him. Yura says that she was certain that the masked man was from one of the 9 great sects. Jin says that she seems confident about her deduction, and Yura tells him that her opponent's swordsmanship contained the exact opposite mysteries from those taught within the demonic cult. Jin asks her not to worry as he was now there. The masked man starts walking forward while saying that now he can hit 2 birds with 1 stone. As soon as he takes 1 step, a hidden blade starts flying towards him. He sees it last second and barely manages to dodge it. Jin says that the mechanical formation trap they worked so hard on was now his. He asks why the masked man thought that they came there without any backup. He says that his forces were invested somewhere else as they speak. Jin asks if the masked man was from the heaven-defying society and gets a reaction out of the masked man. Yura asks what that means and asks why the masked man reacted like that after hearing that name. Jin says that he would fill her in about it later and asks her to focus on survival first. He says that although she might not see it from inside the formation, he had set fire to everything outside before entering the mechanical formation himself. The masked man says that if they keep fighting, then they would all die in there together and asks if they still refuse to flee while taking off his mask. He says that his name was Jian from the Qing sect. Jin figures that the man revealed his identity because he intended to definitely kill them. Jin asks if this man was the mastermind behind all of this, and the man starts attacking them while saying that they should ask that to the devil when they reach hell. Yura asks if Jin can follow her lead, and Jin tells her that he would try his best. They both jump forward at their opponent at once, while Jin also used the hidden blades from the formation to mess with their opponent's movements. While fighting, Yura gave him instructions. When she attacked, his duty was to intervene with the enemy to keep him distracted, all while Bayon was throwing knives at the man from random directions to assist Jin and Yura. Yura tells Jin that he wasn't half bad. Jin says that it was a relief to hear while drenched in sweat. Yura says that she can see their opponent's sword slowly faltering. The man says that it looked like he had to put his life on the line to make sure to kill Jin and Yura. He says that he was avoiding the use of massive techniques so that he doesn't harm the mechanical formation, but he had no choice now. Yura tells Jin to leave the formation and says that she was going to buy him time so that he could escape. She says that her guardian should have been here by now and that it was a shame that things had to end like this. Jin bumps his shoulder against hers and says that he can't let that happen. Jin says that he knows that Yura never intended to run away in the first place, even without him, and that if they leave, they would leave together or not at all. Yura asks him to follow her lead once again. Their opponent asks what a few kids could do against him while attacking. The three of them clash and there was an explosion within the formation, breaking it. After the dust settles, Yura starts coughing blood. The man tells them that they really surprised him. He says that if they fight again, then the outcome might change, even though he wasn't planning to let anything like this happen again. Jin says that he was deeply moved that he was deemed a great threat in their grand scheme. Just then, an old man shouts at him from behind, and before he could turn around, he gets hit in the neck. While the old man asks how he dared to mess with the young lady, he crashes into the floor on the other side of the room. The old man goes up to Yura and asks if she was all right. Yura says that the guardian was late. The guardian apologizes to her and says that Yura's message arrived when he was away. Jin wonders if the guardian was truly saying the truth, as the guardian's sole purpose was to protect the cult leader and his family. Yura tells the guardian that it was all right and says that the guy attacking them had claimed to be an elder of the Qing clan, although it might have been false information prepared for such situations. She tells the guardian to take that man and interrogate him properly. The guardian starts sweating and says that he might have accidentally snapped that guy's neck before. He starts apologizing profusely again. Jin wonders if this old man killed their attacker on purpose to prevent them from interrogating him. Guardian Wang, who had been given the title, the Battle Demon, had already retired when the demonic cult was betrayed 20 years later. And given the current timing, the Guardian had no reason to betray them. While leaving, Yura apologizes to him for pushing all this on top of him and that she would repay the debt to him the next time. After everyone else leaves, Jin calls Chill, who is hiding in the shadows. Chill walks out from the shadow, and Jin asks if Chill found anything. Chill says that almost everything was burned and that he couldn't find anything major. He says that all he was able to find was this piece of paper from the corpse of one of the Hidden Trace members. Jin says that it would have been better if the Guardian didn't kill their only source of information. Chill asks what he means. Jin tells him to forget about it and takes a look at the paper. It was an assassination order for someone named Smoke at the Hall of the Thousands Academy. Jin says that it was the perfect timing for him since he wanted to replace his old training hall. Chill asks what Jin was saying and asks him to at least explain a little. Jin says that they might be apart from each other for a while. Chill asks if Jin was abandoning him. Meanwhile, in the demon cult's main estate, the heads of higher clans hear about the drugs and ask how the criminals dare to bring such heretical practices into their sect. He says that they should annihilate the Qing sect immediately. The cult leader says that the cult's wrath must be thorough and precise. The clan heads ask what he means. The cult leader says that they have to confirm whether the people were truly from the Orthodox Alliance or just pretending. He calls a guardian and tells him to investigate something. Meanwhile, in the Asura clan, everyone was talking about how Jin and Yura had uncovered an underground drug operation. Jin tells his father that he wanted to join the Hall of the Thousands Academy. His father smashes the table asking if Jin was crazy. His father asks why Jin would even consider joining anything other than the demonic cult's academy. Jin tells his father that his brother Yawun was enough to build connections in the demonic cult academy. Jin says that he intends to recruit talents from outside as well. Jin's father asks why he would go to a place frequented by nobodies just for that. Jin says that he plans to preemptively recruit talents who want to join the other great clans. Jin asks if his father knows how those who go to the demonic academy are usually from the other clans or end up getting recruited by the main family. He tells his father that just last year, Chialsu from the Ma clan had graduated and says that he must have had similar objectives as Jin. Jin says that he certainly isn't inferior to Ma Chialsu. His father says that he agrees. Jin says that if his father lends him some support, he could bring in individuals who would uphold the next generation of their clan. After getting permission from his father, while he was giving the application form to Chill, his brother comes running asking if Jin was serious about this. Jin asks why people keep asking him that, and that already 10 people had asked him about it just today. His brother says that people would naturally ask when a direct descendant of one of the 6 great clans goes to an outer academy. The situation in the clan was quite gloomy after they heard about Jin leaving. His brother says that this was a significant demotion for a noble. Jin says that the founder of the Hall of the Thousand Academy was the first demonic cult leader himself, and that after many noble children died going through the brutal training of the 1000 Hall Academy, the demonic academy was established as an alternative. Jin says that his goal was to experience the original training regimen, one that produced true martial arts-obsessed warriors. His brother wonders why Jin was obsessed with martial arts when he wasn't even aiming at the clan leader position. Jin tells his brother he has to become stronger as a serious storm was approaching. Jin tells his brother to practice what he had taught him. His brother asks what Jin was even looking for. Jin says that his brother would find out soon. Jin thought that it felt like he was running off to the military during a family meeting. Bayon tells him that Yura asked her to ask Jin if he was crazy, and that she also wanted a clear answer from Jin about his intentions. Jin thinks that he has to make some stuff up to survive this. Jin says that it was because he realized his own powerlessness. He says that if he was even half as powerful as Yura, then he shouldn't have lost so easily while trying to look as pitiful as possible. Bayon says that it wasn't exactly a defeat. Jin says that it counts as a defeat to him. He couldn't exactly tell her that he was going there to prepare for the future. He says that in the demonic sect, everything must be proven through strength, and to stand next to Yura, he must at least meet the minimum qualification. Bayon seems to have bought his answer. She says that both him and Yura seem to be similar in that aspect. She says that Yura also blamed herself deeply for her shortcomings during the fight. Bayon says that Yura had decided to go into isolated training. She says that Yura had said that she wanted to spar with Jin once again after she came out of training. Jin wonders if she was planning to kill him. Meanwhile, in the 1000 Hall Academy, the new recruits are made to climb a steep mountain without any safety equipment. The instructor says that their future had only two paths. Either they reach the peak of the mountain or die trying. One of the recruits starts crushing the instructor and her grandfather for throwing her to a place like this. Her grandfather had told her that it might be a bit tough, while in the life-or-death situation she says that this wasn't just a bit tough. She says that she must survive no matter what and get back to her grandfather. But the rock she held onto gives out and she starts falling. She thinks that it was over for her, but someone reaches out to her and grabs her hand. While she was still panicking, the man asks if she was all right. His name was San Dojian, one of the recruits just like her. After they had managed to climb the mountain, she thanks San for helping her. San says that it's natural for them to help each other to survive. She says that he was a great warrior for saving her. San gets embarrassed and says that she was just exaggerating. She tells him that since he practices chivalry, he was a great warrior. He says that he appreciates Lady Sang's compliment and that calling him a great warrior was too much. He wonders if this academy was actually a part of the demonic cult. Meanwhile, the other recruits were hoping that she fell down to reduce the competition. San tells Lady Sang that the physical trainings were going to decrease by a bit when the new leader comes, as they were going to shift to theoretical training. She asks if an instructor told him that. San says that she was right, and that he was also told about someone important coming to their academy. He says that it was a direct descendant of the 6 great clans. She wonders what was impressive about that, as the noble must have been exiled from his family to come to this place. At the gate of the academy, Chill asks if Jin really had to go. Jin says that it's already been decided and asks why Chill was crying. Chill says that it was because he and Jin were supposed to be together forever. Jin tells him to stop saying weird stuff and says that he was going to call Chill from inside the academy often. While walking in, Jin notices that all these new recruits had an intense gaze. After all, they all carried someone's expectations, endured mockery, or had a duty on their shoulders when they came in. He hopes that he could find someone who truly impresses him there. All the new recruits get welcomed to the academy. A masked man tells them that it was nice to see all these bright and sharp new recruits. He sees a few students chit-chatting and gets annoyed. He warns them to listen carefully to him while releasing intense killing intent. He tells them that this academy wasn't just an educational institute, but a merciless place governed by an iron law. The students see a bunch of seniors now standing in front of the leader of the academy. The leader of the academy tells the recruits that these seniors had entered the academy a year ago at most, and asks if anyone knows what was different between them and their seniors. Jin says that it was their wounds and gaze. The leader says that Jin was correct and that the seniors had experienced life-and-death combat. Jin notices that one of the seniors was unit leader San Dojian. Jin had no doubt about San's talent. He was a person who had broken through the limits of someone who was from this academy and had reached the rank of squad leader of one of the demonic cult's main units. Jin's eyes light up, thinking that he was at least going to take San with him. Later that day, the academy leader curses at the Asura king, wondering why he would care so much about a son he had exiled to even go as far as recommending the academy leader a nice position. A few days ago, the Asura king had asked if the academy leader didn't want to get a taste of the higher positions before he retires. He says that in 2 years' time, the demonic academy's leader was going to retire and that the Asura king was ready to recommend him to that position. This was one of the most important positions among the demonic cult and the best way to enter the Elders' Council. He wonders why the Asura king would send his son to this academy if he loved his son this much. He asks what the vice leader thought about all this. The vice leader says that it might be an order from the cult leader himself or the will or Jinn himself to come to this academy. The leader asks what that means. The vice leader says that Lady Yura was put under house arrest because of that happened in the Hidden Trace Manor and that this might be Jinn's punishment. The leader then asks why the Asura king's request was so unusual then. The vice leader asks what he means by unusual. The leader tells him that the Asura king didn't demand him for any performance favors or security guarantees. He says that it was more like he was asking for a small convenience so that Jinn could train freely. His intention seemed to seriously be about training. Later that night, a student says that he doesn't appreciate being summoned like this. He says that even he can tell that it was a bit obvious. A hooded lady apologizes to him while calling him the Second Order and says that it was an urgent mission. He asks what could be so urgent for them to sabotage his years of hard work. The hooded lady wonders how this guy can be so arrogant in front of her when he wasn't even close to her in terms of strength. She apologizes and says that it was originally meant to be her assassination team's task, but she had gotten involved with Yura and wiped out. She says that the order was now transferred to him, who is now the closest to the target. The student asks her to tell him about the target. She says that she was going to tell him their name using sound transmission. She whistles in a weird coded pattern that only they knew how to decode. The student suddenly starts laughing hysterically, confusing her. After laughing for a while, he asks if this wasn't the First Order's responsibility to deal with this target, and asks if the First Order failed his infiltration. Still, he says that he was more than happy to cover the mistakes of the First Order, thinking that he could become the First Order himself if he managed to pull off this mission. He tells her to convey to the higher-ups that he was going to handle it cleanly without any complications. That concludes the video. Please consider leaving a like and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.